Welcome to Greenable Woodbridge. I am your host, Carolyn Ehrlich. Today's show, we're going to talk about alternative methods of fueling our cars, our trucks, our buses, our vans, and some very exciting things are happening here in New Jersey in that area. I have with us to explain what's going on George Brew, who is our Executive Director of Public Works, and Chuck Feinberg, who is an Executive Vice President of Greener by Design and is also the Executive Director of the Clean Cities Coalition, which you'll have to explain to us later. Sure. But first of all, we have some breaking news that we just became part of this. The governor announced it 2 weeks ago that we were awarded part of a multi-million-dollar Volkswagen grant. So if you gentlemen would like to describe what that grant was and what we got, if you want to start talking a little bit about it.
Sure, I can start off with kind of an overview of what the program was, and then George can get into the specifics of what your grant is. So the Volkswagen settlement, this was as a result of a settlement that the federal government had with EPA after a protracted court case in which Volkswagen was, I guess they pled guilty. Please don't have the lawyers check me on all the details here. But the bottom line was that they were guilty of cheating on the emissions testing, where the vehicles were actually producing more pollution than the testing indicated. And long story short, they had to put together a many multi-million-dollar settlement, and the states each got a share of that settlement based on a whole number of factors. But here in New Jersey, our Department of Environmental Protection was responsible for how that program was implemented. And through over 2 or 3 years now, this program has been active, and eligible entities could apply for funding under the program. And this has really been a kickstart to vehicle electrification in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So it has helped with electric vehicle charging stations. It has helped with deploying electric vehicles of light duty, medium duty, and even getting into some of the heavy duty is coming under other programs now. But the good news is it led to Woodbridge having a very exciting opportunity here.
It's pretty interesting when a federal settlement works its way down through the state to us.
The system worked.
The system worked. It was very exciting. And George, tell us all about what we got.
So I was approached a little over a year ago from one of our vendors. We're continuing to update our fleet, our sanitation vehicles. One of the vendors we buy our chassis from, and he asked me if we'd be interested because he felt we'd be a good candidate just by the way as I said, we continue to update our fleet. So I said, sure, let's look into it. Megan, our grant writer, I got Megan involved. I got her in our first meeting. And we've proven to be a great candidate for it. I mean, new to the heavy duty fleet is these electric vehicles. In the past we've had some hybrids and looked at different style vehicles, but the heavy duty electric vehicle is not something that anyone really has, and they're not really big even on the East Coast at this point, very few. So, we filed a grant application, and we met all the criteria necessary, and ironically we were awarded it.
Not ironically.
It sounded great a year ago, and then we put it to paper, and next thing you know, we're getting a grant. So it's big news for us, very exciting. These vehicles, sanitation trucks are ideal for this type of application.
Why is that?
So a few things is, we have what they call it in the DEP a creep mode. So sanitation trucks essentially creep. They don't They're not over-the-road trucks. So, and the constant braking that charges the batteries. So, you know.
Oh, I get it.
It's
So-
regenerative braking.
It regenerates a regenerative braking. So, you know, mile-wise, you can get about 70 miles out of a battery charge, which would cover all of our daily stops, get us to the landfill, and back to the shop where we can charge the batteries. So it's ideal in that heavy-duty sanitation vehicle, where we're not looking for a lot of miles, but stop to stop to stop. Every time they hit the brake, puts a little charge back into the battery, and that's how we'll.
They should be very well charged with all the braking
Right.
that they
Well,
do.
And the good thing about that is for the residents, you know, we have squeaky brakes. So the
that was my next question.
So the regenerative braking should cut down on that quite a bit.
Well, let me tell you, you're likely to get complaints from residents too, and I'll tell you why. Because they won't hear the trucks coming. Because these trucks are so quiet, they're not going to be able to run out and put their trash cans out in
That's right.
advance. So.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what it was
true.
like when we got the new trucks, when we went to the single,
The automated trucks.
the automated, yeah,
Right.
it was, when they were new, they were so quiet. And not anymore.
Which, again, that's another reason that brings us to where we are now. We started with, you know, it's funny, I found some old pictures from the early 50s. We had these kind of like box-looking, they weren't Packer trucks. And in one of our guys, James Cepas, found an article in 1957. Woodbridge was in a trade magazine for having one of the first compactor garbage trucks.
Whoa.
So, you know, it goes from where we started to evolving to that to having the side load trucks, which was a major commitment, you know,
Right.
on the administration here to buy all those side load trucks, to here we are now. So, and you know, every time we update our fleet, you know, buy 3 trucks at a time, 2 or 3 trucks, you know, they're more efficient, they burn cleaner. So, the old exhaust burning black smoke truck we don't have them anymore. So,
Yep, that's
we
true.
have, by continuing to update, we definitely have moved along.
Will these be a side automatic loader too?
So we have a side, which is going to be a split body truck,
What does that mean?
which is unique because it can do regular trash and recycling in the same truck.
Oh,
So for our downtowns, all of our parks, where we have multiple, instead of sending 2 trucks, it's 1 truck that can service both. So we have one of those. One will be a rear load truck, and the other one will be, if we can get a roll-off truck, or it will be just another side load. So
good. And maintenance on these trucks, are they about the same as what you have now?
well, again,
That might be
it's,
Chuck.
it's yet to be seen, to be honest with you. But having said that, because this is new technology, and these are early deployments of this new technology. So I congratulate Woodbridge for once again being on the cutting edge. But with any electric vehicle, there are significantly fewer moving parts. So there's no exhaust. There's no exhaust system. You know, there's much. It's a much simpler operation. You know, the main component of it is the battery, and
Right.
and that's what's driven the cost of electric vehicles over the years, is the cost of the battery. So that technology has improved tremendously over the last several years. I mean, when I first started doing this maybe 10 years ago, a battery technology for an electric vehicle was something like $1,200 per kilowatt hour. And now the average is just over $100 per kilowatt hour, and some manufacturers are below 100. So the technology has evolved
Fair.
tremendously, and that's what's allowing the cost to come down. For light-duty vehicles, for passenger vehicles, you know, you're going to see many different brands over the next couple of years, and every major manufacturer is you know
is working on it.
you know GM, and they're all saying that they're going to be only electric within
Wow,
a few
that
years.
is great. So
But that's also what's allowing medium-duty and heavy-duty vehicles to start with their initial deployments, and for the FedEx and UPSs of the world, for them to be saying their local deliveries are all going to be in electric vans in the next several years.
Yeah.
So they're all moving in that direction.
That is such great news with the growth of the warehouses here in Woodbridge.
That's a big thing.
We would all feel so much better if if there were not a lot of emissions coming from the trucks. And I know that they're going that way. I've even
there.
called Amazon. I said, please get your electric trucks here as soon as you can.
It wasn't that long ago that I personally knew every driver of a plug-in vehicle in the state of New Jersey.
Not anymore.
And now we're, over 40,000 of them. So,
right.
So it's been really great to see, and that pace of change is accelerating.
That is great. Now going back to the sanitation trucks, it pays for us because we basically got them for free. The next time that we go out, I imagine that the technology in the trucks are still too expensive for the town to be buying them. Do we have to wait?
So the initial cost of any most electric vehicles is higher than its internal combustion counterpart.
Right.
That incremental cost is shrinking as more and more production ramps up. So that's one thing. The cost of ownership over the life of the vehicle is projected to be significantly less for the fuel savings primarily, but also because of the maintenance savings that we just spoke about. So yeah, for a heavy duty truck, that incremental cost is probably going to be there for a while.
Right.
And that's exactly why we need the government incentives early on. To encourage the market and to encourage production, because as production ramps up and more orders for these vehicles, you get the efficiencies of the production also.
And as we build our electric infrastructure, we'll be able to do more of the smaller size. Like, for instance, you didn't mention that grant, we also got some vans.
So also with that grant, we applied and received 2
shuttle buses.
Whether we use them for senior transport or however we use them, medium duty trucks or they're considered light duty, but that's another bonus, and that won't require the same amount of infrastructure as we're going to need for the sanitation trucks. Although once we start this infrastructure, our plan is to
keep going.
Continue on that, so for the
right.
future.
Yep, and we just put it in the capital budget, and there it goes.
But the other thing is with these batteries, the technology, from a maintenance standpoint, there are quite a few less moving parts, but the batteries themselves, the technology, when we first started with our Ford hybrid vehicles, it was one cell, and the cost of that battery was $7,000 at the time that replaced, almost not worth the vehicle.
Right.
Although we still have some of those hybrids, ironically. But these battery cells they're they're changing cells, so they're modules. So you can take the vehicle, diagnose, okay, you have a bad module in the left side of the truck. You take the module, they replace the module, and the nice thing about that is they use those cells, and now the manufacturers are starting to refurbish and rebuild the batteries.
Wow.
Because I think they're required to start selling in this country. So they're really ramping up recycling the batteries. But the other side of that is they use the batteries almost till their useful life, where they may be on a solar panel grid where they're just holding power. They don't necessarily need to produce power, but they can store power. So they have a long
huge.
Shelf life,
That's right.
these batteries, which is fantastic.
And that market is just developing now.
Yeah.
So when a battery is no longer suitable for an electric vehicle, it still has something like 80% of its life left to it.
Yeah.
So those batteries can then be transitioned to an energy storage system.
And so when you're talking about solar or wind, they need, or the microgrids, they need the storage, which has been one of the components that has been missing.
That's right.
So that is great. And also, we got more from the Volkswagen grant. We got a letter this week from NJDEP that we also got some charging stations for downtown. So, yep, it's
Wow.
it's new that
I didn't
see,
even-
it's
that I didn't
news
even know
to you.
that.
Yeah, so we're talking about putting them, and this will be a little bit of work for you, Eleanor, where we already have, I think, power coming out, and at New Street, where we'll have to go to PSE&G and get some
Excellent.
power. So we're pretty excited
Wow.
because that's something that everybody can use.
Well,
Yeah.
that's great because, you know, the thinking is that with light-duty vehicles, passenger vehicles, most people will be able to charge most of the time at home. But one of the challenges we face here in New Jersey is there's a lot of what they call multi-unit dwellings, where people don't have the ability to charge at home.
Right.
So publicly available stations like that is going to be critical
it's gonna
to
be great.
help
And
with the
we're
transition.
finding that with the new development that's going up, most of them are including electric charging stations within their development, and we're kind of encouraging them to do that.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's really it's great progress. Woodbridge likes being the leaders, and we're very thankful to the state and to EPA for actually having followed this up. So we have a few more minutes left. Chuck, do you have any final words you'd like to say?
Well, I'd like to say that part of the momentum that we're seeing here in New Jersey now is thanks to the Murphy administration. It's not just the VW program that the DEP has implemented. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority is coming out with a program now that is going to be funded largely by RGGI dollars, now that we are back in the RGGI program, the
Right.
Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. So the EDA program will be specifically for medium and heavy duty vehicles. And the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities is also coming out with other programs to encourage the utilities themselves and the board itself to do more of the charging stations
That's true.
and to provide the infrastructure necessary to make ready for
So you'll
charging
keep us
stations.
up to date with
So
all of these
I would be happy
opportunities,
to.
and George and Megan will be busy filing for all the grants applications.
And
Sounds like-
actually
sounds like Chuck's gonna
implementing these
keep-
projects.
Yeah, it sounds like Chuck's going to keep us busy.
George, any final words you'd like to say?
No, it's just very exciting. You know,
Yeah.
like I said, we started years ago, you know, moving our fleet around, changing our vehicles. I know we were involved with, you know, thinking of natural gas years ago. Dennis Henry was, you know, big on alternative fuels, and the infrastructure at the time, it just didn't, you know, it wasn't cost effective.
Right.
Or feasible for us, but you know, this is something a little more, something we can handle, I think.
Yep.
So-
And just to conclude with what the
exciting.
mayor always says, it's got to look at both greens.
Yeah.
The
That's
green of
right.
the environment and the green of the taxpayers'
if it's
money.
not
Yeah.
financially
And this is
sustainable, it's
working.
it's
Yep.
not sustainable.
So thank you both.
thank
I
you.
know I've learned a lot from this time, and I'm sure our viewers have too, and we look forward to seeing
Great.
our new sanitation trucks on the road.
Hopefully soon.
So thank you.
Spending time outdoors has never felt more valuable. Whether it's exploring nature or relaxing in your yard, let's do it responsibly. Before going out, check for closures and fire restrictions. Practice social distancing, even when outside and on the trail. Back at home, if burning yard debris, keep your pile small. And no matter where you are, be sure to properly extinguish any outdoor fire. Drown, stir, drown, feel. We're all in this together. Help keep our safe places safe.
We're back, and we're speaking to Sean Keegan, the CEO and founder of Solar Landscape. And Sean has brought some wonderful programs to the township. But first, I think it might be a good idea to do an overall of why we're spending so much time and energy trying to get renewable energy, and especially solar.
Sure, yeah. So as part of Governor Murphy's Energy Master Plan, the goal is for the state to reach 100% renewables by 2050, which is one of the most ambitious goals in the country. And it also it really goes along with the goals on the federal level from the administration, from the Biden administration. And I think even, you know, as of this morning, I was reading about infrastructure legislation that they're going to try to get passed. And
That would be great.
yeah, exactly. So it's in order to get to that level of renewable penetration in the grid, we need support from the federal and local level. And New Jersey's been one of the strongest supporters over really the past 15 years in the transition. And it all comes down to the environment and climate change. And so one of the major contributors is the electric generation industry. So fossil fuels, natural gas, and coal put out a lot of harmful emissions. When you're driving up the turnpike and you see those big cogen plants around Linden, and that's all contributing to climate change. So the goal is to put more solar on the grid and start to move away from traditional fossil fuels and towards renewables.
And you have a business that actually could help with that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
tell us about that.
Yeah, so
we have a little bit of time, so if you want to start from the beginning, how you came up with this idea and what's happening and the BPU involvement and all that.
Sure, yeah, I'll kind of lay it out there. So we got our start about 10 years ago. We're called Solar Landscape. We're based in Asbury Park. I'm from Monmouth County. My partner and I started the company building commercial solar panel systems around the state just about 10 years ago. And over the years, we've evolved from a builder and a constructor, where we're actually doing all the installation work, into developer, where we go out and plan projects and basically create them in order to facilitate putting more solar panels up on rooftop and underutilized land. So we don't do greenfield development. We don't do any of the large farmlands. Thanks. Yeah, I agreed. From a policy perspective, I think that's not what we want to be doing as a state. We want to preserve the farmlands and what makes New Jersey beautiful. So what our company focuses on is mostly industrial rooftop. So we go out and rent giant warehouses like you see up and down the turnpike, big box warehouses that are popping up. We give those landlords a rent payment. And then we basically put our solar panels up there, and we pump the energy into the grid, and then we actually sell it to folks who live in the area, within the municipality or the adjacent municipality. So part of the reason we began talking a couple, I guess 2 years or so ago now, was that we have some really large warehouses in Perth Amboy, about 700,000 square feet, so 20,000 solar panels or so that we have installed in Perth Amboy, and we're able to sell electricity to the folks in Woodbridge. So what that really entails, and this is part of community solar, and what that entails is basically folks can go to gosolarlandscape.com and sign up for a community solar project. And if they do so, they'll save at least 10% on their electric bill. Certain folks will save 15% or even 20%, and we'll get into what differentiates the savings. But what's really cool about the program is it's guaranteed savings. You can't lose money. It's not like third-party energy where they can change the rate on you. It's just whatever you would have paid the utility, instead you pay us at a discount of 10 to 20%. And it's a brand new program, and it's really unlocking the potential of solar for a lot who were previously shut out, because you could be a renter. You don't have to own a home. You don't have to have good credit. You can just sign up for a community solar project and know that your energy is being sourced from a renewable source rather than from fossil fuels.
And that's part of this that was so attractive to us here in Woodbridge, because your market is, of course, everybody. But then there's a certain percentage. What's the percentage? Sure.
So as part of the state's, I guess when they set up the program for community solar, they had a very ambitious goal to benefit low and moderate income people. And so 51% of the electricity that we generate has to be sold to low and moderate income folks, which the moderate income threshold is higher than you might think. It's over 100,000 for a family of four. So it's working class families really, and we're able to basically have them sign up and save money just for enrolling in the program.
So just to make it even more clear, if you
thanks.
live in an apartment, you can be part of this program, and you can be using renewable energy.
Exactly.
If you don't have a large income, and the reason why you didn't get solar was because you couldn't afford to do it, you now can. So in my mind, the benefit is more about being able to use renewable than the money savings, because the money savings are good, 10% is good, but that's not a motivator. The motivator is for people who want to do the right thing and help the environment. And we'll be working once we start this program, we'll be working together to market it, to identify the folks who want to use it. And you want to talk a little bit about the outreach?
Yeah, sure. So right now we actually have some projects that are live in Perth Amboy.
Right.
Folks can go to Go Solar Landscape, and I agree with what you said. I think a lot of the motivator behind what we do and the folks who sign up for our community solar gardens is the green aspect. So the savings on a typical electric bill, let's say you're paying $100 a month, you're going to save $10 to $20 a month, which isn't going to change much. But it is
something.
significant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your Netflix subscription. It's whatever costs 10
Right.
to 20 a month for you, right? So there's monetary savings, but really on the green side is super important that people get behind this. From an outreach perspective, what we're doing is we've partnered with some local organizations. And nonprofit groups to try to reach their constituents.
That's great.
And then we also had a lot of support from the state government. Governor Murphy came out and announced
Yes.
the
remember I
ribbon
saw
cutting
that.
of our very first project, which was in Perth Amboy.
That
So
is great.
we had local politicians come out and basically
Yeah.
pledge their support.
We're not used to being second after Perth Amboy. We're usually first, but
well-
we'll be there.
well, let
So
me-
I just want to talk
yeah,
about one more
sure.
thing because we're running out of
Please.
time, and this is important.
Yeah.
The job training opportunities that you offer.
Sure. Yeah. So this is really important to us as a company, and it's really speaks to kind of our background and what we believe in. So we got our start as a contractor. We still employ a little over 50 installers and electricians full time. And these are W-2 full-time jobs. They're not temporary labor jobs. And we've started and ran, and now we have successfully run a jobs training program where anyone can enroll. During COVID, we went to an online training program, which is still available. You can sign up. It's a 40-hour course. You'll get a certificate in solar installation, and then we'll actually do some in-the-field training and some job placement. So we're able to hire, a few, we'll say a few per quarter. It's not a ton of people that we hire because, again, we're focused on permanent full-time jobs. We also have a network of subcontractors and folks we know in the industry. So we have a full-time person. Yeah, who actually does job placement. So we do outreach to our friendly competitors and or subcontractors and get people jobs in solar, which if you just Google the fastest growing jobs in the country, solar's been in the top
Right,
for the past
exactly.
10 years. So
and I think we already have it on our website.
yeah, awesome. Cool.
So hopefully people are signing up.
Yeah.
So this went so fast.
Yeah.
But we are so excited about having you as a partner with Greenable Woodbridge.
Likewise.
And thank you for coming here today.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know. You'll let me know when we can start signing everybody up and get going.
So we have several projects coming to Woodbridge that are on giant warehouses.
Yep. Yeah.
that
We
we're
got
renting
plenty of warehouses, lots of roofs for
Well,
you.
that's our ideal candidate, and Woodbridge has been a great partner, and looking forward to getting the townspeople sign up and passing the benefits along.
Well, thank you for coming and thank you for helping us be more renewable.
Right on.
Thank you for watching and being part of the excitement and part of the change. Thank you.